Okay, we should be live. We should be good. I cranked up my mic since the last stream, so hopefully my mic sounds a little bit better than the last stream. I'm really hoping that that's the case. It'd be very nice if my audio was decent for once. If not, same shtick as it's been before. I'll fix it eventually. We'll get the hang of it. We'll get back into the swing of things and get it back up and working. So, in case you guys haven't noticed, it is October. It is spooky month. If I was more prepared and less busy with life, I definitely would have already been doing Pasta Fridays, but I'm doing it now. So let's celebrate that. I've got three creepy pastas here to read. I hope you guys are ready. We've got a variety. We've got a Mario, we've got a Sonic, and we've got a Jeff the Killer. So, let's get into this. Super Mario 128. Mario has been a gaming icon for decades and has been in more games than can be counted. Although, no year in recent memory has gone past without some sort of Mario game being released. That is a lie. There are plenty of years without a Mario game, so we're already starting out with our author who knows literally nothing. Series fans will remember the nearly decade long drought of original Mario platformers. I have no idea what you're talking about. There has not been a drought ever, really? Like, there's always been something Mario releasing on something. I don't think there's ever been a drought. It's not a yearly release franchise because they're obsessed with quality, but I would never say that it went through anything like what Sonic did. From 1997 to 2005, there was only one Mario platformer release, Super Mario Sunshine. That's only if you're not counting the spin-offs. There was Yoshi games released. There was Mario Wario Land games released. There was plenty of Mario stuff being released. Like, and those are platforming games. They're spin-off franchises, but they're still Mario. During the second part of this drought, after Sunshine's release, the mysterious Super Mario 128 was the main focus of the fan base. Now, I actually have a personal connection to Mario 128. One of my biggest inspirations to start my YouTube channel was Yuri of Wind. And one of the first Yuri of Wind videos I watched was his gaming mysteries on Mario 128. So whenever I think of Mario 128, I think of him and his video. So it has like a nostalgic soft spot for me. No concrete information was given on the game end. Eventually, the series creator Shigeru Miyamoto claimed that it had simply been a series of tests and concepts that were never intended to be an actual game. And in case you guys haven't seen it, Mario 128 is like a weird GameCube tech demo with like 128 Marios running around this weird board, and you can warp and twist the board and get the Marios to do stuff. It's basically Pikmin, but with a bunch of Marios instead of Pikmin. And the game did evolve into Pikmin, and the main character from Pikmin, his name is basically Mario, and his brother is basically Luigi. So Mario 128 basically became Pikmin if we had to really say anything that it turned into. But that's just me. I know some people will disagree with that, but it definitely shares a lot more in common with Pikmin than anything else it's credited to going into. The Mario drought corresponded with a bad era for Nintendo in terms of console sales. They were having that already. Also, hey Dylan, how are you doing? I'm doing great. The Nintendo 64 and GameCube did not have financial success. of the earlier Nintendo Entertainment System and Super Nintendo or the later Wii. And that's because they didn't fit into what people wanted. When the N64 was around, people wanted disc-based gaming. People wanted full 3D gaming. People wanted like cinematic gaming. The N64 could not do that because Nintendo decided to do cartridges. When the GameCube came out, people were wanting serious gaming. People were wanting to have powerful gaming. People were wanting gaming to be more of an art form. And Nintendo decided to go full kiddie, release a lunch pail, and have tiny disc that you need like 6 to make a real game with. And that was just a horrible thing to do. Nintendo misjudged 2 of the console generations. The Wii wasn't that bad because like the games that were played on it were basically standard disc. They were dumbed down versions of console games if any real console games went over to the Wii. But the Wii was fine. The Wii was fine compared to the other ones. So it fit in more with like standard consoles of that generation than the GameCube and the Nintendo 64. Nintendo 64 and GameCube had a horrible situation to be stuck in. For a very proud company that relied solely on video games to make money, they have a lot more than video games to make money. They have the Pokemon anime, they have all of the merchandise sales from all their stuff. They have their fingers in a lot of pies. It's not just video games. That's a huge misconception. This was quite upsetting for the higher ranking employees that were attached to the company and felt its success or failure reflected on them personally. I don't know why we're getting this whole thing here. I genuinely don't know why we're getting this little history lesson. Is anyone feeling any spookiness from this? Is it spooky? Not really. Nintendo started working on a sequel to 1996 Super Mario 64 shortly after the game was released. That is true. That was Super Mario 64 2, and it went through development hell, and it never ended up releasing. But during the late 90s, it became clear that Nintendo was not winning the console war. The Super Mario 64 sequel was restarted from scratch since the company believed that it was not substantial enough improvement over the original to turn the tides of the market battle. That is kind of what happened. Nintendo does like have very weird priorities. Sometimes they will do things like Super Mario Bros. 2 Japan, where it's just a reskin, or Majora's Mask, which heavily used Ocarina's assets, or Mario Galaxy 2. But most of the time, they do want huge improvements and huge gameplay changes in order to justify it being a sequel. So yeah, it's halfway true. Give me just a second. Okay, so where are we at? So far, this story is just boring me. That's my big problem. It's just really boring me. Hopefully, something spooky happens soon. Seeing generally more realistic and violent games on Sony's PlayStation, the market leader Nintendo considering making a Mario game that was closer to the tone of what the public wanted. Give Mario a gun. Give him a gun and make him say damn. There was quite a bit of internal conflict over how to go with this new direction, and the new Mario was clearly not going to be ready until Nintendo's next console, the GameCube, where he would have tribal tattoos and flex. Remember that ad? The only hint of this was released to the public was a comment by Miyamoto that he thought Mario and Luigi should act more like grown-ups in their games for the soon-to-be released GameCube. An interview that does not exist and does not sound like anything Shigeru Miyamoto would say, but whatever. The new Mario project was ultimately split into 3 games. And this is just a lie. Like, bits and pieces of Mario 128 was used in a lot of games, but the Mario project was not split into these games. This is just straight up a lie. Luigi's Mansion, which reflected the darker tone, it's not even that dark of a game, that many felt the series should turn to, although it was still toned down quite a bit compared to some of what Nintendo exclusive developers wanted. And Super Mario Sunshine, which went in a completely opposite direction. The last one is Pikmin, which was successful during the time of the GameCube and inspired Pikmin. I don't know why they included that part at the end, but whatever. So that is kind of true. But pieces of Mario 128 would be used in other games too. I'm pretty sure Twilight Princess uses some stuff that was developed for Mario 128. So it was still being used in stuff like Mario Galaxy later on. So it's a hugely influential game. It wasn't just split off into 3 games. Super Mario 128. Both Pikmin, both and Pikmin were released within a year of the GameCube, and Nintendo felt confident that their new system and Mario games would return them to their former glory as the market leader, because apparently no one wants to play on a lunchbox but me. All those familiar with gaming history know they didn't. Wow, way to be mean. The GameCube did even worse in the market share than Nintendo 64. Yeah, because it's a fucking lunch pail that still is underpowered and still isn't what people are asking for. And the mass market's taste shifted towards violent, realistic games. Not really. I say that it switched for more dramatic and compelling and story based games, and those just happen to be violent. That's my own thing because, like, during the 360 and PS3 generation, we literally went so far in that direction that games were literally just like prompt events, and it was mostly just stories and barely any gameplay. It was definitely leaning towards that direction, and it kept going in that direction. Violence is always going to catch people's attention, but I think people just wanted games to be deeper. During this period, the somber mood at Nintendo intensified, and the darker Mario project was revived. This time, Mario would have a gun, and it was named Super Mario 128 again. It isn't clear exactly what happened at Nintendo during this period because I made it up. As we know, nothing called Super Mario 128 was ever released or shown publicly. Wait, what? No, that's a lie. That's a complete lie. Super Mario 128 was shown publicly. What are you talking about? I just described the public showing earlier. What? The source that revealed the internal strife at Nintendo during the latter Nintendo 64 era refused to discuss what was happening during the time of the GameCube's failure. You're repeating yourself, but released a prototype of Super Mario 128 Online that can be played on the Wii Homebrew channel. Is that true? I don't think that's true. Is that true? In the tech demo, they put 128 Marios so they can test how the GameCube can handle games. Forgotten. It's literally a real tech demo that was shown off in front of a lot of people. It's very public, it's well known. The game was clearly an early beta. The title screen was nothing more than text saying Mario 128 against a black background. What is this? Is this a story? There was no options menu or save file selection either. After the title screen, the game started. Bowser's laugh from Super Mario 64 looped in the background, while a plain text box displayed this dialogue. Mario, I have taken Princess Peach, and she will not live to see the sunrise tomorrow. Oh, that Jack Black. Always with his edgy little side tangents. Unless you take her place, you know what to do. Kill yourself, Mario. Now, where to go? Do not try to stop me unless you want to hasten her death. Definitely in character for Bowser. He was singing about peaches, now he's singing about murder. The game clearly was going for a darker tone, no shit. After I made the text box go away, wait, why is there not 128 Marios? What's even the point of the fucking name if there's just one Mario? I was thrust into gameplay. The first thing I noticed in Mario's character model, his body was detailed, as in Super Mario Galaxy. Although a bit more realistically proportioned. What does that mean? I have no fucking idea. But his head was taken from his Super Mario 64 character model. Why? Why? Sunshine was already out. Even the Marios in the tech demo had different heads. Why would it be Mario 64? That makes no sense. It would take more effort to do that. Obviously, his design wasn't finished yet. Oh, yeah, that shows that it wasn't finished. Obviously. The setting was a sky level. Very descriptive. There were some simple platforms floating in the air. The rest of the area was just blue sky, with several clouds scrolling in the background. The clouds seemed to be more realistic than usual cartoony puffs in Mario games, because realism is spooky. They were quite graphically impressive. On the GameCube, no way. There's no music or full voice samples from Mario. Well, there's never full voice samples from Mario, really. Just bing bing wahoo yippee yaha. But there were sound effect grunts when he jumped. Yeah, that's what they already have. It's bing bing wahoo yippee yaha. The jumping was more subtle than the other Mario games. Mario didn't jump as high as he usually did, and had a little control over his movement in the air. This is very, very interesting, author. The different types of jumps in every 3D Mario weren't present. That means that you can't do the double jump and the triple jump. He doesn't know how to write, so he can't say that. I played through the level. There was nothing especially notable about the gameplay, so you're going to write a whole story about it and bore me to death. Enemies didn't seem to have been added yet. Oh wow, one of these stories and there's no enemies, just straight line with nothing in it. What a wonderful story. I don't think Sonic.exe ever existed. I jumped from platform to platform, almost like it's a platforming game, and it was very challenging. It wasn't very challenging. Why are you writing a story about this? This is the most uninteresting creepypasta I've ever read. As I went through the level, I noticed the graphics gradually changing. This was personalized. The sky became more cloudy until it was entirely composed of clouds. Clouds. And the cloud background gradually turned dark gray. 'Cause spooky. After this, it started to rain. I reached a small platform with a toad on it. 'Cause, of course, there would be toads. It looked like Super Mario Galaxy model. You're obsessed with Super Mario Galaxy. Why didn't you write a story about Super Mario Galaxy instead? When I landed on the platform, his dialogue appeared. I'm not doing a toad voice. I will not. We don't want you anymore, Mario. Ungrateful little bastard. Fucking kick him off of that cloud. You don't belong here. Just give Bowser what he wants. Die. I was joking earlier with the kill yourself immediately. Toad isn't. After the text box went away, I no longer had control of Mario. Mario just stood there for a while, then turned around and walked off the platform. His body seemed to go limp as he fell. Eventually, it was revealed that there was a realistic modern city under the sky. The buildings looked neglected. What does that mean? I don't know. But there were people on the street, as streets tend to have people. Mario hit the ground, and I just imagine like the Mario death noise with a realistic sounding thud. So I'm sure you can just imagine thud. But he didn't explode or show any visible wounds. He just laid there. No, he just lay there. The people in the city just kept walking by, ignoring Mario. Very realistic, actually. That's very accurate to how people actually act. Not even joking on that one, sadly. Although I thought I saw a few glance at him with cold, somewhat angry expressions. That's also accurate. This went on for a few minutes, and eventually people stopped appearing. Mario got up. I was in control, but he couldn't jump at all. He had been reduced to walking speed. Falling from all the way up in the sky makes you unable to jump. We're learning so much. The large buildings of the city didn't appear to be interactive, so I just kept walking down the street. Wow, such interesting gameplay. Eventually, I found a small house that seemed out of place among the larger buildings. When I approached the door, Mario opened it. The screen went white, and some black text appeared. House of Torn Memories. This seemed to be the level title. When I pressed the button, the screen faded back to Mario. He was inside the house from before. Everything seemed bigger than it should. It wasn't gigantic, but scaled as if Mario was a very small child. This story is getting weird, and I don't like the direction it's going in. The house was filled with normal object. Just one object. Covered in dust and signs of neglect. Neglect is a reoccurring thing in this story. There were no people on the ground floor. Well, good, they shouldn't be on the floor. Just things like broken lamps, rotting food. I found a door that opened to a set of stairs going down, leading into the basement. Backward long jump, backward long jump. In the basement, I found a dilapidated, someone fucking looked up a dictionary, couch, and a broken TV. However, what really caught my attention was what was on the couch. Two skeletons! Ah, spooky. We're ending the story right here. The skeleton appeared. That appeared to be children, judging by their size. I don't like where this story is going. Due to the scale of the house, they were still larger than Mario. I was starting to get really disturbed by now. How had a Mario game containing this been programmed to this extent? Obviously, they're making a dark and edgy game like they said they were going to. Didn't you hear Shigeru Miyamoto? He has to act like a big boy and see dead children. I went up to the skeletons and tried pressing buttons to interact with them because that's what you do when you see a dead body. Or the TV, because I need to watch something. But nothing seemed to happen, a reoccurring theme in this story. I was about to turn around and look elsewhere when I nearly was scared to death by a deafening sound, a loud crash coming from the game. Who cares? Who honestly cares? What appeared to be Bowser seemed to have broken through the floor from below and broken through the floor from below, but landed in front of Mario. So he broke through the floor, went into the air, and then landed in front of Mario. Just so you know what's happening. I say appeared to be because this was nothing like the Bowser. This is nothing like the way Bowser is usually rendered. So he's thinking of like Super Smash Bros. Bowser, like Smash Melee Bowser. The reptilian monster in the game had Bowser's basic brownish yellow green bat. Who cares? This isn't very good at all in describing what he looks like, but looked far more threatening than any Bowser model I've seen before. Very good at describing it. I know exactly what he looks like now. It was not proportioned like the Bowser I knew. Its arms and legs were far larger. So Giga Bowser. It's Giga Bowser. I'm just gonna say it's fucking Giga Bowser. Imagine Giga Bowser from Melee. The face had small and tinged pure. Why are we still describing this? Oh my god. Mario was cowering in fear from this thing. How very mean. A dialogue box appeared. You've kept me waiting long enough, Mario. I will taste flesh soon. Will you finally surrender? Or does Peach have to die? So apparently Bowser's end goal is to eat people. I didn't know that. Is that always his end goal? I thought his whole thing was like marrying Peach. I thought that was his whole thing. Why is he trying to kill her? Why is he trying to eat Mario? We'll never know. I still didn't have control because we don't have control over our lives. It's just one downward spiral. Mario just stood there, shivering for several seconds before nodding his head. Bowser impaled Mario with his claws like how Frieza did to Krillin on Namek. There was no blood, just like Frieza did to Krillin on Namek, but it was clear from the animation and the sound effects that the sharp digits of Bowser's hands had gone through Mario's body, and I can only imagine like the oh wah 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 wah. In one swift motion, Bowser dragged Mario up to his face and bit his head off. Again, there was no blood or graphic details left behind on Mario's neck, just the character model being destroyed. 128 Marios spawned and the game teleported to Mario to a graveyard slash house. Graveyard slash house. So a whole graveyard slash a house. Very descriptive. The screen faded to black. In white text, another level appeared. Mario's Eternal Home. Mario's character model was whole again when the level started. It was only thing on the screen besides the black background. It was floating as if in space. I could somewhat control it, but it felt more like I was deciding the general direction in which Mario could tumble than fully controlling him. It's ragdoll physics. Welcome to Gmod. As I drifted towards the apparent destination, voices faded in. They were echoing, deep voices telling Mario that he was worthless. Welcome to a day in my life, Mario. That the world no longer had any use for him, and everyone would be better off if he was dead. Hey, Mario, maybe you should get on some antidepressant pills. It's been doing wonders for me. Maybe you should take some. High-pitched crying was layered over onto the voices after a bit. It sounded like it was supposed to be Mario's cries. This really disturbed me, and I found myself fighting back tears. Because you're a giant crybaby. For some reason, I couldn't understand. I'm not shocked on that one. This was affecting me on an emotional level because you're a wimp. The voices and aimless wandering went on for several minutes until I spotted a light gray speck in the distance. Good thing I'm colorblind. I moved towards it. It took a very long time to reach, and it grew closer at a slower rate than it should have. How do you know what it should have? You've never seen this before. This is totally new to you. How would you know? When I was close enough to make it out, I saw that it was a tombstone. So we're ripping off a Pokemon creepypasta now. It was very plain with one of the cracks, it was a very plain one with cracks in several places. When I got right next to the tombstone, I could see writing on it. I turned off the system right after reading it. I'm not going to play the beta or hack or whatever it was again. There was one single word on the tombstone. It was innocence. So yeah, the death of innocence because people want edgy gaming. That was Super Mario 128. This had nothing to do with Super Mario 128. Literally got multiple details wrong about Super Mario 128. Uh actually had no clue what it was talking about in terms of gaming and the gaming landscape for the time as someone who lived through that era of gaming. It's honestly just a horrible story with like literally nothing happening all the way up until the end. And all that happens is Mario gets eaten, and like that doesn't even do anything either. So like Mario jumps off trying to kill himself, that didn't work. And then Bowser bites his head off, and that didn't work. Like at least if the tombstone said Mario, it'd be edgy and cliche, but it would make more sense than the fucking edgier and more cliched innocence being written on it. Why would that scare you to the point of turning off the console? This story is honestly terrible, and it's an amazing story to start with. It is a great story to stretch my limbs to and get back into the swing of things. So, I'm going to take a short little break, and then when I come back, we will read the Sonic creepypasta. So stick around. I won't be gone for long. I am back. Let's continue reading. So, now we are going to get into the segment with a Sonic creepypasta. We are going to be reading Mr. Needlemouse. And I didn't plan on these to all be beta stuff, but I guess coincidental. Yay, let's pretend like I had that planned. Let's pretend like let's pretend like that this was 100% intentional. Mr. Needlemouse. When I was younger, I loved Sega, and just like all of us, you hate Sega now. I had the Master System. No one had the Master System. The Genesis and the Sega Saturn. No one had the Sega Saturn. I held on to Sega until the Dreamcast, which came as a great disappointment to a lot of people. Although everyone had Nintendo consoles, I was the Sega fan, the only Sega fan. You ask, Sonic. Why? You ask? Sonic the Hedgehog, same as the rest of us, sadly. I looked up to him, same as Chris Chan. He was my hero, next to the American Rabbit, when I was a child. He was just this cool, radical dude, which you'd want to have as a friend, which is Sega's marketing. They wanted you to think that. However, this experience changed my mind on that. I was 26. I haven't been 26 in a minute. And I was playing my Sega Saturn when I noticed a box underneath my bed. I had no idea how I got there, but I sure was interested. There was a note attached. Sega MD 1988 console, Mr. Needlemouse. A faded Sega logo was on the box. I looked at, I took the lid off. I looked inside and found a dusty motherboard of some sort. It was encased in a plastic box with the Sega logo on the side. A small cartridge slot was visible. It looked like a Sega Genesis, but without the plastic case. Picking the console up, I saw a small Genesis-sized cartridge with a label Mr. Needlemouse 1988. So let me just say something. You're fucking lying. Like, it was shock of all shocks. First of all, the Genesis is just the localization of the not Master System, the Mega Drive. It's the localization of the Mega Drive, and the Mega Drive released before that, and it already had launch titles lined up. Sonic wasn't considered to be Sega's mascot until Alex Kidd wasn't connecting with people and his game wasn't really doing well. Sonic the Hedgehog was kind of a last ditch effort on Sega's end. So, no. If there was going to be a Mr. Needlemouse, it would not be in 1988. And you definitely wouldn't have a Sega Genesis in there. You would have a Mega Drive in there. You would not have a Genesis. I plugged in the slightly broken Sega Genesis on my flat screen TV because I can just do that, and was greeted with a message on the screen. Sega MD. Well, at least they knew it'd be Mega Drive, whatever. 1988 delayed. Move project Genesis. Oh wait, what? Move to Project Genesis. What the fuck does that mean? Frustrated, I unplugged the console and threw it into the corner of the room. Picking up the cartridge, I realized something. If it didn't work on the broken Genesis, it would work on my actual working Genesis. What a fucking genius our author is. Funnily enough, it worked, and I was greeted with a much different sight. It was the Sonic title screen, but much different. Sonic had an angrier expression, more spikes. There wasn't a background, and the Sonic text was replaced with Mr. Needlemouse. By the way, Mr. Needlemouse was never going to be Sonic's name. Project Needlemouse literally just meant Project Hedgehog. Needlemouse is just another word for hedgehog. Japanese is a very complicated language, and I don't want to even start to explain how it works, but just know something like hedgehog can be broken down into what the creature looks like. So hedgehogs look like mice with needles. So the Japanese word for hedgehog is basically our equivalent to needle mouse. But he would be called Mr. Hedgehog or just Hedgehog. And that was obviously just a placeholder name because he hadn't come up with the name for Sonic yet. But whatever, I'm gonna quit busting your balls on this one. Some text underneath read Mr. Needlemouse Alpha for use with Sega MD 1998. Sega 1998. 1998. I think you meant 88. 98? What? Copyright Sega 1988. Early build to be renamed Sonic the Hedgehog. Oh my god, I had found a Sonic the Hedgehog prototype that wasn't going to be releasing until after Sonic the Hedgehog released. What an amazing prototype. I knew that the earliest prototype dated back to 1990, a year before the game's release. But this gem of discovery must have been the earliest version of Sonic the Hedgehog. I realized the game wasn't playing any music, but when I pressed start, a illegal instruction error appeared. Very spooky. I remember when all those fake ass videos were coming up with that and people acted like it was the scariest thing ever. It's like I encountered that so many times as a fucking kid. That error message pops up nonstop. It can happen with legit games if they're just a little bit dirty. Hey, it's not scary at all. I reset the game to be greeted by another illegal instruction after pressing start. Eventually, I realized I have to insert the level select code to play the game. Luckily, it worked, and I was greeted by this Green Hill Zone, Water Zone, Marble Zone, Star Zone, Sparkle Zone, Clock Zone. And those are kind of the beta names. You got it mostly right, so I'll give you credit for that one. You at least got something right. Yeah, he was always called Mr. Hedgehog. Needlemouse is what happens when you directly yeah, that's exactly what I was saying. Thank you, Jargon. Um, boop doop doo. I chose Green Hill Zone, expecting it to be an early version of Green Hill Zone. No shit. And that's what I got. No shit. However, this was much better. The music was much slower and sounded like a guitar cover. What? A guitar cover on Genesis? How would I'm not even going to question it actually. Sonic, or Mr. Needlemouse, was looking at the landscape surrounding him. A large waterfall took up most of the background, which could see a transparent steam clouds rising from the bottom of the waterfall, something the Genesis totally could fucking do. The level looked like a Japanese steam garden instead of a tropical paradise like seen in the 1990 demo of Sonic. Mr. Needlemouse looked at the screen impatiently and soon began tapping his foot. I pressed right and Mr. Needlemouse began running. The super peel out style from Sonic CD, it took 5 seconds for him to stop. Since he ran so fast, I wondered why this prototype was much better than the final game. Why Sega didn't use this version of Green Hill Zone in the final game. Funny thing is, Sonic actually was supposed to be faster in Sonic 1, but I shit you not, Yuji Naka, a man of terrible decisions, decided to slow down the game because it was making him sick to play it. He made Sonic 1 slower because Sonic was too fast for him. Just fucking let that sink in. Where do you find these fanfics? For these ones, I go to some Ordinary Gamers wiki. They have quite a few terrible creepypastas. I thought fanfiction was the thing of the past. It is, but we have a lot of archaeology here. Do, 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 do. There were a few enemies, like the big jawed enemy from the 1990 prototype, and Splats the rabbit. I eventually came to a big ring, which I presumed was used as the end of the level. The moment I jumped into it, another illegal instruction appeared. I continued to push reset, but the game had frozen. After about 15 presses, I noticed the screen changed drastically. Mr. Needlemouse was hovering in the air. Not really hovering, so I lied. Just standing on nothing, Looney Tunes style. Tapping his foot, and the graphics surrounding Mr. Needlemouse were corrupted. I finally managed to reset the game, but something other than the title screen came on. Mr. Needlemouse was stood in one of the underground sections of Marble Zone. The bricks were much blockier, like Minecraft, and looked like those in Labyrinth Zone. Amazing. Also, I thought to myself, why did it skip Labyrinth Zone or Water Zone? It was next on the levels list, wasn't it? This is where the author's concerns are. There wasn't any music playing, yet I could hear the pixelated flickering of the torches. Yes, these are the priorities Sega had, apparently. And the moving lava. Sonic suddenly, immediately began to run, gradually getting faster and faster. He eventually came to a bottomless pit, and then he did the one thing I couldn't imagine in a Sonic game. He jumped. Because I love ripping off all the other shitty creepypastas where people jump to their death. I swear to God, this is the same story that I just read a second ago. We read a Mario creepypasta a second ago, and it's literally the same thing. Just jumping to your death. I don't know why this keeps happening. He kept falling through the bottomless pit. Surely the game, he ragdolled. It's now Gmod as well. Surely the game would realize he's falling too far out of the level. Then I heard that song, the anthem of nightmares of early 90s kids, Labyrinth's drowning theme, just the drowning theme in general, began to play. Because you can drown in more levels than Labyrinth. Once the song finished, Mr. Needlemouse plummeted into some spikes because I love ripping off Sonic.exe. But the exact split second before he was impaled, another illegal instruction error occurred. You don't know if he's going to be impaled. He could have made it out of that. I reached over to turn off the game, but the screen changed. It was Mr. Needlemouse lying on the floor of Marble Zone, motionless, with some text above him. Don't let him fool you. But I already realized he had already fooled me. I have no idea what that means. I have no idea what this ending is, and I have no fucking clue what I just read. Like, honestly, this is terrible. This is like beyond bad. Like it messes up lore about the Sega Genesis. This is just like the Mario creepypasta we read. It messes up lore about the Genesis. It messes up dates involving Sonic's creation. It gets names wrong with Mr. Needlemouse instead of Mr. Hedgehog. It describes things that never were talked about in any development of Sonic the Hedgehog. It just makes things up. And then it's just another story where someone jumps to their death and then the end. I mean, at least we didn't have Eggman biting Sonic's head off. That's a plus. I guess that's what we have to look forward to. It's like, hey, at least there isn't a ton of gore in this. There's only a little bit of gore in this. So yeah, that was Mr. Needlemouse. A really uneventful story. Really, nothing happened. But I will say this, at least it was mercifully short. Like, it was a lot shorter than the Mario story I read. The Mario story went on forever and just kept describing the history of Nintendo. At least this one was like, yeah, Sega sucked and Sonic did some spooky shit, the end. And I appreciate that. I appreciate it for not wasting my time. Maybe there's a hidden meaning to it. Yeah, there is a hidden meaning to it. It's I shouldn't have read it. The joke's on me. 100% the joke is on me. But yeah, that was Mr. Needlemouse. It's a bad story. Now we're going to be taking another short little interlude, and then we are going to be reading the Jeff the Killer creepypasta. I'm going to get another drink. You guys can relax for a second. I'll put up the intermission screen again, and we will be right back. So use the bathroom if you have to. Get a snack if you want to. I don't know how long the Jeff story is going to be, but let's go to break. Okay, we are back. Also, you should read the original Jeff the Killer by its original creator who stole the original image. I did a whole thing called Blank the Killer where I read through a bunch of Jeff origin stuff. I've done multiple videos talking about the lore of Jeff. I don't think I'm going to go any further back with Jeff. I know Jeff's past only gets cringier the further back you go, so maybe one day, but not right now. But this story is an award winning story. This won Fail of the Month, August 2024. This is Jeff is Back. Back again. Jeff is back. Grab a friend. The story this following story, this following story was written by a detective, which we know by Sonic.exe. We should never like that a detective is here. I never want any detectives in these stories ever. After analyzing video evidence, witness accounts, and the video claimed to have been watched. What? And the video claimed to have been watched. Developed a story. This is that story. Oh god, this is that story, alright. It was late at night on a typical Tuesday evening, like every other Tuesday evening. I was surfing the internet as I had two large coffees, one in each hand, sipping from both. One was one flavor, one was the other flavor. One could say that I could mix both coffees together and make a suicide, but I'm not a madman. from my local coffee shop earlier that day and was unable to sleep. I wonder why. After watching, also, this is written by a kid, obviously. He doesn't know how fucking adults work. After watching pointless YouTube video after YouTube video, welcome to my life, being an adult is wonderful, I came across a strange title in the related videos bar. You could actually do this back in the day. You could find so many random videos just by continuing to click like recommended over and over again. It doesn't really happen the same way anymore. It's kind of disappointing. None of the characters were of the English language. However, the shapes of the characters seemed to vaguely resemble words. Although I couldn't quite decipher them, curious, I clicked on the video, as one does. I suddenly began to hear various creaks and groans coming from my house. I whirled around and grabbed a nearby baseball bat because we all just have baseball bats near us. I have one too, right next to me actually. Ready for the fatal battle. What? Why would you just assume that there's going to be a fatal battle? What the hell? To my surprise, there were no intruders in my house, and luckily, not your dog either. Nor, spelled wrong, any signs of forced entry. All the doors were also locked. Figuring I was just going crazy, yeah, as one does, I shrugged my shoulders and lazily walked back to my room. I had spent a lot of money on high bandwidth connection because I'm an adult who does adulting stuff and I'm old. So I was perplexed that the video I had clicked on had not loaded yet. Welcome to YouTube. Okay, now I get to have like a personal bitch. So YouTube fucking sucks and I hate it and I hate the people who run YouTube. I'm using LibreWolf right now, and the reason why I'm using LibreWolf, which is its own web browser, is because YouTube decided to block my ad blocker, and Google just decided to disable my ad blocker outright. My ad blocker is the only thing protecting me from malware when I download mods or fan games or any of that. So I gave up on Google and I moved over to a couple different browsers, and now I'm on LibreWolf. And YouTube added an update, an annoying fucking update, that makes it to where every time I click on a video, it would say unable to load, and I'd have to hit refresh to make it stop. And that was so fucking annoying. I went and downloaded several YouTube ad skipper programs and just kept testing them over and over again to see which one would do that. So now I don't use my regular ad blocker, the one that blocks out malware on YouTube. I use a weaker ad blocker that is specifically made for YouTube in order to be able to block it because I was dealing with this same shit. Welcome to my world. It sucks. I hate this. I impatiently clicked the video 4 more times, a child's mentality, in an attempt to bring it up. After what seemed like an eternity of waiting, I had spent a lot of. Oh, wait. The page finally loaded. The background was black because it's always black. Can we please stop with the cliches? It's always black. Why can't it be any other color? And it was completely hid all the text except for the username of the uploader and the description, username 666, both in crimson red. The user of the upload was Nightmare Slumber. I kind of want to see if Nightmare Slumber is like a real YouTuber. If it isn't, then someone needs to make that. And the description, description. Well, the description. I hate how this site is formatted. Read as such, and then fucking space. How ignorant. Is this Jeff? I think this is Jeff. Is this Jeff? I'm just going to assume it's Jeff. How ignorant of you. You are aware of my demonic presence in your life. I didn't know Jeff was a demon.
I will destroy everything you stand for, worthless coward. I'm always watching you, and soon you will come to live with me forever.
In the creepypasta mansion with Slenderman. Ooh, very spooky. Figuring this was simply the idiocy of a 12-year-old, like the guy writing this, I did not heed the danger I was in. The video began with a picture of an abandoned mental asylum. Okay. Later found out to be. I'm not reading that. The picture was long, dark. Get your minds out of the gutter. Tattered corridor extending past the viewer's visual field. The left wall of the corridor had windows. Oh dear God, it had windows! Separated by columns. The corridor was bathed in an eerie moonlight. An eerie moonlight. Yeah, that's how you say it. Only broken by shadows of the columns. The darkness of the corridor was a pure black. Was a pure black. The likes of which I had never seen. I got the vibe that the asylum was hastily abandoned and never cleaned up. Wow, very intuitive of you. For the first minute of the video, it was simply a still frame of the corridor. There was no sound, nor movement. At approximately 1:13 of the video, I noticed a slow but definite movement at the very end of the corridor. The had a human stance, but walked very unusually. Most noticeably, its head pointed straight to the ground. The creature accelerated steadily as the video progressed, eventually breaking into a full run. Full sprint would have been a better word, but whatever. The creature ran, head first into the camera, knocking it over. Simultaneously, I heard a very loud bang on the door. There was only one, and it sounded like someone had jumped into the door. I jumped back and grabbed the bat again when I heard the computer make an error sound. The computer then blue screened at a point and saying that it was shutting down for safety reasons, which is what computers do apparently. They don't just brick, they shut down for safety reasons. The screen then proceeded to make note of the fact that an unknown hacker had been obtaining information about my whereabouts, and it waited till now to tell me. My antivirus program. Yes, that's how it works, by the way. My antivirus can just tell me who's hacking me and give me their IP address. I can dox the hackers from my antivirus. My antivirus program ran a trace of the hacker's IP address because of the CSI and came back with a city in northern Wales. Specifically, the heck had been made from an abandoned mental asylum, even though Jeff never went to a mental asylum, but whatever. The hacker had been obtaining information about my whereabouts. Oh wait, I already read that. Then the power went out at this point. I became extremely intimidated. But you have a baseball bat, don't worry. My eyes welled up with water. Wait, welled up with water? Tears aren't water, dipshit. As my breathing accelerated, I began to hear someone groaning in pain outside my door. Or maybe pleasure. I knew it was a mistake to go look, but I decided anyway. When I glanced through the peephole, there was nobody outside. He's gonna stab you right in the eye. I could still hear the groaning, though. No way in hell I'm opening that door. I flew into a panic and immediately attempted to contact the police. However, I got a busy tone on both the landline and my cell phone. I ran back to my computer to see if I could hook it if I could hook it up to a generator to ask for help. You have no one you can call on that phone but the police? Okay. When I noticed the computer screen was still on in giant red text, upon the screen it read, "Go to sleep," because I guess Jeff just has supernatural powers now. Jeff just has supernatural powers and can, like, control your PC even when the power's out. A piercing scream then ran out. The sound, it sounded like someone was dying. Because I know what that sounds like. I raced towards the kitchen, drew two knives out of the drawer. This was real. This was actually happening. The screams were getting louder and more desperate. Under the screams, I began to hear a faint but distant, hysterical laughter. I ran about the house trying to figure out what was going on. Then I heard sobbing coming from the closet near my computer room. My skin ran cold as I grasped the doorknob. It was cold to the touch. I should have said something before opening the door, but I didn't have the common sense to do so. Yeah, I can tell by this story. I whipped the door open to see a young girl, dead and bloodied, crumpled up in a heap in my closet. Her stomach had been ripped open and her entrails pulled out, because this is a classic creepypasta. She was entirely naked. I'm pretty sure we said young girl. EDP. EDP the killer. The wall suddenly was illuminated with a red light, and I noticed that something was written in blood on the wall.
You should have heeded my warning. Go to sleep.
I whirled around and saw the figure in the video, head down and everything. I froze in fear with one sudden movement, almost as if I was watching the video that had skipped a few frames. The figure twisted its head and looked at me. Then everything went black. I somehow wrote this whole story, though. I wrote this whole story, even the part where I'm dying. By the way, I did that. I'm so cool. Detectives know the victim's body was found in a similar state to the young girl's in the closet. Despite the numerous blood tests, we could not identify the girl. In fact, due to a lack of missing persons report, the fact that no one came forward to claim her remains or try to solve the case of this murder, because no blood tests matched anyone we tested, it seems the girl never really exists. That's not how that works. That's not how that works at all. There are plenty of people that are not in the database. There are plenty of people that don't come up positive. It can take years to successfully identify someone. It doesn't mean they don't fucking exist. We have confirmed that the hijacking came from the abandoned mental hospital. However, there's no explanation as to how this timed so close together. We have issued an arrest warrant, but no officer wants to enter the ruins in fear of his or her life. Yes, our brave fucking police people won't enter an abandoned mental asylum because they're afraid of, like, Jeff the Killer. The only break we got was a witness citing of an extremely unusual, frightened creature running into the hospital a few days later. From witnesses' testimony, we noticed a shocking similarity between the face of the deranged mental hospital inhabitant to the one following image taken from a site filled with horror stories with words "Go to sleep" captioned on it from above. I made this edit. Are you proud of me? Numerous murders like this have occurred since. We're still too scared to go in there. Every one of the victims have been noted to watch the video. Why is Jeff now like a video killer? Why is he now the ring girl? He's not the ring girl. Why did you make him the ring girl? What are you doing to Jeff? This is not Jeff. Don't do this. I don't like this. A few minutes before homicide is committed, YouTube officials. Oh yeah, I forgot YouTube's involved. I've tried to remove the video. However, every moderator that tries ends up getting brutally murdered. The case is still unsolved. For once, even YouTube can't flag something down. What a shock. Detectives note 2, Electric Boogaloo. After further researching the case, a few discoveries have been made. First, while I have been unable to find the source of the video, last minute accounts of the killer's victims have provided enough description evidence to point the image further to the background of the video. Although this is a JPEG image and thus the nature is still image, a rumor has it if you stare at the picture long enough. Oh my god, come on, buddy. We're doing this too now? Is this like everything? Do I also have to share this creepypasta to 6 people in a week or I'll die? Ugh. The image begins to twist and contort. Continue staring. If you see a creature beginning to run towards the camera, which you won't, no one has watched the image long enough to see the creature come close, but enough visual evidence there is to assume that there is a person in the video. The image can be found below. View at your own risk, for your life may be at stake. And I'm looking at the image the whole fucking time, and it's just a shitty JPEG. In addition, I have been searching for more information regarding the killer to honor to my horror, not my honor. To my horror, I have found a set of stories regarding the one Jeff the Killer. This is the worst mistake that you can do in a story. Do not acknowledge the creepypasta you are aping or ripping off in the story that you are writing. It is the most immersion breaking thing ever, and I fucking hate it. The stories dictate a serial killer who develops psychological tendencies. Who cares? Don't care. I know I'm in danger, so I have to set up constant surveillance around my house to protect myself. I still see bright flashes of light and hear banging noises around my home, along with the rare but still horrifying laughter of which only a true psychotic killer can provide. I don't like what you're doing with Jeff. I fucking hate this. I don't know how much longer it will be until we catch him, but if he keeps making these mistakes, then we'll have solid identity. And an airtight case will capture this ghost and we'll take him to court, Scooby Doo style. I feel we are on the brink of taking him in. How and why, I don't know. For I keep hearing the laughing and banging sounds that are escalating in volume, and I also am seeing an odd orb of light in the distance. I have radioed fellow police to the scene, but the radio has gone dead. The light is getting closer. It's God. And I have my gun ready. It's him. I can see his face. Time to spamming the keyboard.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jeff. I don't like that this story is being published because it's bad. But, oh well. It's not like any of you can catch a demon of my caliber. Because I'm a demon now. The detective is now dead. I killed him. The journal is over. The Diary of a Wimpy Kid. And it's quite hilarious because in viewing this document, I have logged into every one of your IP addresses. That's how that works. And know every one of you and where you are. For example, one of you works at a cousin on Dexerol Boulevard. I don't know what that is. One of you lives in Burbank. One of you lives on East Avenue. I'm just going to keep saying general locations to spook you. One of you goes to university and has a roommate named Becky. One of you is going to Iowa. One of you come on, just shut the fuck up, Jeff. The list goes on and on. I know where you work. I know your friends, your family, your loved ones. I know everything. Soon, all that will be taken from you. Upon reading this message from me, you should start hearing odd noises like Slenderman and feel a sense of fear and dysphoria, like gender dysphoria. I'm gonna make you trans. Wash over you before you become anxious and frantic. No logical reason. The banging isn't the building you reside in. It's something else, something quite sinister, something that wants your blood. If I don't get you, I will get those you love and care about. You, the one shivering in your chair and has a girlfriend named Jessica, who you live with. She's mine. Jeff just cucked this guy, by the way. He took Jessica. You aren't safe. I think it's time for you to go to sleep. I'll be in shortly. Sincerely, Jeffrey the Killer. I don't think he'd ever call himself Jeffrey. P.S. Whomever is the one that's a junior at Kettle Moraine. You're cute. I'll take my time with you. And this was uploaded in 2012. And it was definitely written by a 12-year-old. So, I don't like that Jeff the Killer is a demon in this. I don't like that Jeff the Killer is the girl from The Ring. I don't like that Jeff the Killer can do magical stuff. I don't like that he can possess JPEG images and shitty low quality videos. I don't like that he can steal your IP address through YouTube. I don't like any of this. This is not Jeff. If you name this anything but Jeff, it'd probably be a slightly better story, but it would still be shit in the end. Like, this is honestly the worst Jeff the Killer story I've read, and that's saying a lot because Jeff the Killer 2 is like really horrible. It may have went on for like 10 years, but at least it made more sense in this and at least tried to like follow some of the Jeff the Killer stuff. But like Jeff is back. Like this isn't even Jeff at all. It follows none of the Jeff lore. It just makes up a bunch of shit. It's honestly like it's honestly more of a Slenderman story than it is Jeff the Killer. It's like Slenderman mixed with Laughing Jack. This isn't Jeff at all. Like this is absolutely terrible. I'm sure a kid wrote this though, so it's understandable. But yeah, those have been our 3 spooky stories for this very spooky night in October. Hopefully, you guys have enjoyed this spooky stream of mini pastas. If you guys liked this, hit the like button. If you really like my channel, share it around and tell people to check it out. And if you want to see more content like this, then subscribe. If I can not be lazy for once, I will try to do these streams every Friday. They will be downloaded, edited, and re-uploaded to my other channels. The Sonic part will go to Chaos Garden. The Jeff part will go to Shad's Hoodlum. And the Mario part will go to 8-Bit Bandit. So those are all linked on my channel. Go check those out if you want to see this video when it gets cut down, edited, and re-uploaded. Thank you guys for watching, and bye.